behalf of the Equal Opportunities Committee, I would like to thank the members who participated in today's debate. There have been some valuable contributions, and I would like also to thank the witnesses who took the time to share their expertise with the committee, and the Minister for her response so far, particularly on organising a longer debate on the issue. This has been an unusual debate in that the Equal Opportunities Committee has not produced a committee report for the Parliament to consider. Instead, we have used this afternoon as an opportunity to highlight directly to ministers and members some of the key issues that were raised during our 2 meetings on unpaid carers. We appreciate that this type of approach may not always be appropriate. However, given that the Scottish Government is currently updating its policy on unpaid carers, it seemed a sensible way to proceed. It is also in keeping with the Scottish Parliament's key principles of power sharing, of being accessible, responsive and participative. This topic is clearly a matter of concern to the people of Scotland, with the recent parliamentary debate on kinship care and various current motions on unpaid carers. The relevant statistics show its importance. As the convener of the Equal Opportunities Committee and others noted, there are an estimated 660,000 unpaid carers, estimated to save the Scottish economy £7.6 billion per year. The Equal Opportunities Committee was specifically concerned with whether carers face discrimination or barriers, and whether specific groups of carers had any particular issues. We trust that our focus on these issues will have provided a useful head start to the Scottish Government, particularly given its stated commitment to the equality impact assessment of its policies. While we did speak to a wide range of expert organisations, there were 1 or 2 gaps in the evidence that the Scottish Government and COSLA may like to consider. For example, while we had a discussion about the relevant issue for minority ethnic carers, one of the relevant organisations was unfortunately not able to attend. We know that work has been taken forward on this, and some members did attend a very informative cross-party group meeting on carers where this topic was addressed. Similarly, some organisations that represent business interests were also unable to attend. Given the impact that caring can have on an individual's ability to join or remain in the labour market, this is definitely a perspective that requires consideration. Focusing on the world of work, I would also like to highlight the recent development in the European Court of Justice that was brought to our attention, mentioned also by Malcolm Chisholm. In brief, it seems that treating employees less favourably because of their association with a disabled person will now be unlawful. That may well have major ramifications for businesses and how they treat employees who care for a disabled person. This really needs to be looked at with great urgency. The committee was delighted to welcome the Scottish Courts Service to give evidence. We had been told that this was an excellent example of an employer who has an enlightened attitude to staff with caring responsibilities. We should seek to learn from such examples of good practice, as well as being critical of areas where expectations are not being met. If the Scottish Government and COSLA are looking even wider for examples of good practice, they will be interested to note the approach to carers that has been adopted in Northern Ireland, as outlined by Margaret Mitchell, where there is an obligation on public bodies to promote equality between people who have dependents and those who do not. Presiding Officer, there is no doubt about the appreciation we have of the role performed by unpaid carers. They may not always get the recognition they deserve, but I am sure all members in the Chamber realise the rich contribution they make to our society. We trust that the Scottish Government will reflect carefully on the evidence that will be heard in committee and take the action required to make sure that the contribution of unpaid carers is adequately supported. Thank you.